Randy, Aylee, thanks so much for joining us today on the Thrive in Wabash County podcast. We're so excited not only to have you on the show today, but to have had you the last 12-ish weeks for the summer in our community, and Aylee, in your case, to have you back, which we'll get into today. But for our listeners, we're in the studio today with myself, co-host Alex Downard, and another co-host here, Christine Floor. And thanks, everybody, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
First, we'll start with you, Randy, being the newer one of the two to Wabash County, Indiana. Just for our listeners, before we get started today, we had, I believe it was episode number 9.
I think it was 9.
But we recorded an episode Adam Stakeman hosted with myself and Connor Heinman, the project manager for Imagine 185, who runs the fellowship program. And in that episode, we described kind of where the fellowship program came from, its story, where it's at today, and also kind of previewed this conversation. So just that we were really excited to have 2 of our fellowship participants on the podcast with us. And so we're really excited to have you both today so that our listeners, people in Wabash County, your friends and family, classmates can just hear a little bit about what your experience has been in our community. But before we get into what the experience has been this summer, Randy, tell us a little bit about yourself. So your name, where you're from, and anything else you think that would be good to share for some context.
Sure, not a problem. So, like Alex said, my name is Randy. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. As you know, Wabash does not have any beaches, but despite that, I still love it here. I'm currently getting my undergrad in California State University, Los Angeles. For short, I just call it Cal State LA. And I involve myself in a lot of clubs in that school, particularly more the automotive clubs. So during my spare time, I love just like playing around with my car and, just playing around with car parts and just being involved in the automotive industry.
Randy, I'll never forget when I first met you via Zoom at kind of our orientation call, kickoff call after you'd been hired by Real Alloy for this summer. I believe you were in a garage of some kind working on cars, or there were a lot of people working on stuff in the background. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that. It wasn't the garage where I work on my cars at school in, but when we were in that Zoom call, I was actually at the makerspace. So behind me, there was just students working on their projects. And to be honest, I just got right out of the class and I just had to go somewhere. And that was the first place to go.
One thing I think early on, Randy, when you moved into the sanctuary this summer, I don't remember if it was the day you moved in, but when I was sitting there talking to you, you had some type of, and Aylee would know what it was, being that she's also an engineering student, but there was some type of board with a bunch of different chips and all things that are way above my head.
A breadboard?
Is that what it was?
Is it a breadboard?
Yes, I remember now. So during the summer, I did buy an Arduino kit because I wanted to polish
One more
up.
time for the listeners.
No worries.
And the co-host, because I have no idea what you just said.
Okay.
Maybe this was a bad idea to bring 2 engineers on this podcast. Our listeners are going to be like, man. Go ahead, Randy, sorry.
No worries. So over the summer, I did buy an Arduino kit. In short, an Arduino kit, it has a lot of computer chips, but they're not your traditional, like computer that you would actually play at home. It's more of a downsized scale version of it. And basically, you program these chips to do very simple operations, such as turning off and on a light switch or, creating like a complex circuit. When you push this button, it turns on this light bulb for 3 seconds and it turns it off for another 4 seconds and repeats that same cycle.
What was that called again?
An Arduino kit.
Yeah, it sounds like
third
something
time's a
from
charm.
Star Wars to me. Arduino. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure Aylee plays with Arduino kits all the time as well, given her first robotics experience.
I
too.
usually actually do Raspberry Pi more than Arduino.
Ooh.
So that's kind of the other counterpart to Arduino. It's just like a
Sounds delicious.
different version of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Love
thought
Raspberry Pi.
Sounds delicious.
you thought Arduino was impressive. That's like this 5 steps above Arduino.
Yeah, Raspberry Pis are really cool. You
Yeah.
can do a lot with them. I have a coach from my robotics team from high school, actually, and I was asking him a bunch of questions because I had to mess around with the Raspberry Pi for my senior design project. And he was telling me he has like 15 Raspberry Pis in his house just doing various things, like just to like automate his house, which is like so crazy to think about. But
Yes.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to invite, of all of the fellows, the
Right,
engineering students, not just like the business students?
Right,
the
right. Or the
Your idea.
marketing students. We get these two with their Raspberry Pis and their Arduinos or whatever he said. Yeah, that is really interesting. Why were you traveling with it?
No. So I didn't, to be honest, I didn't travel with it. When I first got here, I ordered it off of Amazon.
Oh, so like ship to me.
Yeah, it got shipped to me. I was like, you know what? I need to polish up my skills for next
Oh,
semester.
smart.
So, yeah, I have some side projects to do
Yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's when I knew we were fortunate to have Randy when I saw the Arduino kit for the first time.
For sure.
And Randy, through this program, we had one student last year, I believe, in the first year of the fellowship program, so the summer of 2024. This summer, we had two students, but what makes it a little unique with you in the program, you flew here, obviously, from Los Angeles and didn't have a car all summer. So
Correct.
we'll get into a little bit about that a little bit later, and also how you found Wabash County and came all the way and chose to spend your summer here when you're from Los Angeles, too. So I want to make sure we get back into that later. Aylee, if you wouldn't mind, a little bit, again, just background on yourself and who you are.
Yeah, so my name's Aylee. I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, so not too far. It's like an hour and a half away. I go to Trine University studying design engineering technology. I actually started out as a mechanical engineering student and decided it wasn't for me, that I was more interested in like the technical aspect of things, because mechanical engineering, you'd be surprised, is a lot more theoretical, if that makes sense. Like, you're doing a lot more really, really in-depth stuff. Like, I had a class where I was learning about the like molecular structure of different metal alloys, and I was like, this is not it. So I switched gears, and I'm really enjoying my degree now. I'm going into my senior year at Trine in the design engineering technology degree. And I'm also into robotics a lot. I really, really like robotics. I did FIRST robotics when I was in high school, and then now I'm the president of the FIRST alumni club at Trine. We abbreviate it to FACT, but essentially it's the same type of thing. We have our own robot, but we spend a lot of time giving back to the FIRST community as alumni, volunteering at competitions, dropping in to like help mentor newer teams and kind of share our knowledge from when we were students in the program. And I kind of like to like preach the gospel first wherever I go. So I think a lot of people this summer too, I've been like talking about it.
So, Aylee, for our listeners, we have a really active FIRST robotics program here in Wabash County, but if they're not familiar, what is FIRST and FIRST Indiana Robotics?
Yeah, so FIRST is a K through 12 program that's dedicated essentially to bringing STEM to the younger generation and I guess teaching people how to solve problems and work together. That's essentially the main thing behind it. So FIRST is actually an acronym. It stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. So that's exactly what it is to inspire people, to bring that into people's lives in a way that's like easy to access from a young age. So like I said, K through 12, it starts with like Lego League, which is like kindergarten through middle school, and then FIRST Technical Challenge, which is high school, but it's like smaller robots, and then FIRST Robotics Challenge, which is like you get like a 5-foot-tall robot with that, like which my team has before. But essentially the premise of it is every year you get a new game, a whole new rule set, everything, and you have to design a robot to play that game. It's a different theme every year, different game pieces, etc. And then when, you have like 6 weeks to build your robot, like completely design and build it, you find out what the game is at the beginning of the 6 weeks, and then that's all the time you have. And then you go compete with it. And this is like a national program, but not a lot of people know what it is unless they're involved in it, which is so crazy to me. Because I think when I tell people about it, they assume it's like a couple of people just like in someone's garage, like a little robot fighting ring or something. But it's literally, like, I don't know if anyone's seen the music video of Radioactive, but
Imagine Dragons?
Imagine Dragons, yeah, they have that little, like, stuffed animal robot, like, fighting thing. It's, like, I don't know, it's super random, but...
But that's not what it is. That's not what FIRST is, yeah.
I've met people from Mexico, met people from Japan, Australia, the UK, like, worldwide. I've met a whole bunch of different people. My team was fortunate to do really well my senior year, and we went to the World Championship in Houston, which was, like, super amazing, and I got to see how all kinds of different cultures and, like, people participate in this program. It was really, really cool.
Was it called Worlds?
Yeah, Worlds.
We've had Northfield Middle School and high school robotics, I think, have been to Worlds a couple of times here at one of our local school systems. Listening to you talk just about your hobbies and some of the interest you have, along with being in engineering programs, is a really great example of the quality of young talent that we are blessed to attract into this internship.
Yeah.
And you two probably had a few offers or intern opportunities possibly, but we're just hearing from you both just in these first opening moments of this episode really highlights the type of talent we want to host in our community and what we would like to see in the future as this program continues is diversified talent like yourselves with expert level skills.
I'll never forget, I'll have to tell this story, Aylee, but I'll never forget when Aylee and I first met on your interview. I sat in on your interview with Wabash MPI Carver. It's the company that Aylee's interned with, which I'll have you speak a little bit to your internship experience here momentarily. But I'm on the virtual interview, and Ron Gilman, fantastic community partner.
Absolutely.
Been great for the fellowship program since the beginning. Aylee, I know you and Ron have a great relationship that you can speak to, but I'm on this virtual interview, and Aylee starts talking about First Indiana Robotics and her experience. And then Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, was also in First Indiana Robotics and mentored teams and was very familiar with the program.
He knew the guy that started Andy Mark, which is in Kokomo, which is only like 40 minutes away from Wabash. He knew Andy Baker when he was starting that company up, which was in like the early 2000s. And now Andy Mark is like a worldwide huge company that does a lot with they literally help develop the games every year.
So
Awesome.
Aylee and Ron in this interview are going back and forth. They're talking. I'm sitting in the interview like, I'm not an HR professional, but if that interview didn't go well,
Right.
I don't know which interview's going to be. It wasn't 5 minutes after we get off the Zoom call and hang up that my phone rings and it's Ron. He's like, I want to hire her. Tell her we want to offer the job. What's the next step, right? And
That's awesome.
so I've gotten to hear you speak about how important First has been in your journey.
Yeah.
And so it's excellent. I appreciate you sharing how you continue to give back even through the work and what you volunteer at and Shrine. Real quick, both of you, Aylee, we'll start with you. A little bit of who you're interning with this summer, what you do day to day in the internship, and then maybe we'll take a step back and circle to how you found out about the internship and the Wabash County Fellowship Program as well, if you'd be willing to share.
Yeah, so I'm an engineering intern, which means essentially like my role at Wabash MPI, which is where I intern at, is I do a lot of detail work. So people will come to me with either an idea of something that they need created or just like some detail drawings that need updated or parts that exist but don't have drawings made of them yet, and I will go in on SolidWorks and create that into a drawing. But aside from that too, a big part of my role was helping to actually design something that didn't exist yet, like a product that's now on their catalog, which was really cool. For me, this was my first engineering internship too, so for my very first experience, I think it's been really, really valuable and like beneficial to my knowledge and experience as an engineer. But they had me design an accessory drawer, which to go with their pellet presses, which Wabash MPI makes hydraulic presses, and then Carver, which is they're the same thing now pretty much, just different sides of the same company. They make laboratory presses, pellet presses, which are used in like material testing. They'll do KBR testing, which is essentially running infrared light through this like little pellet of potassium bromide that has like some other stuff suspended in it in a pellet, and then it tells you like about the molecular structure of
So you're
whatever's
not
in
just
there.
stuffing envelopes is what you're saying?
No.
Like they're not like stick the intern, we've got a mailer going out.
I have had like homework. Like Ron gave me homework last summer.
That's brilliant. That's
yeah.
great.
But I learned a lot about, I guess, like exactly what they're doing there, and I felt like it was important to explain that. And yeah, so
Absolutely. And because it also takes the level of detail that they took your career path seriously.
They did.
They
They
poured
really did.
into you and gave you these growth opportunities and trust.
And trust, that was a big thing that I actually touched on in my final report this year, was that, I had a lot more independence this summer than I did last summer. Not in the sense that they were like always hovering and making sure I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I had a really structured project last summer designing that accessory drawer, which was just like supposed to hold all the little stuff you need to be able to do that pellet testing. But this summer they were like, hey, so we want you to kind of update that design, but also do this other project with the Raspberry Pi, which is
There's that Raspberry
I know,
Pi
yeah,
again.
I got to do that again this
Man,
summer.
I'm not a pie guy, but
But yeah, so it was really busy this summer. There's some other projects going on, and essentially I was left to do what I thought was the best to do to keep the project going and present something to them that was worthwhile. And I literally said, thank you guys for trusting me to give you something at the end of the summer that was like worth hiring me for, like, you know, worth putting me on the project for. Like, you knew that I was going to give you something good. You know, I checked in with Ron once a week. I didn't really have like super frequent meetings with him otherwise. And
You were a full-on professional. I mean,
Yeah,
I know.
in the
Absolutely.
company.
And it's crazy to think about too, because I'm going to be honest, when I was in my senior year of high school, I remember like talking to my robotics coach and being like, I don't know if I'll be good at engineering. Like, what if I'm bad at it? Do you think that's the right choice for me? And he was like, you're going to be fine.
I feel like you're doing all right.
I think so. And
think so.
I think that my brain is a little more developed, and I'm like, what was I worried
in,
about?
in confidence,
Yes.
and internships outside of your
Yeah.
comfort zone like this provide you the opportunity to truly test what
Yeah.
that success could feel like for yourself.
Yeah, and I mentioned last summer I did prove something to myself during this internship program last summer and this summer with the added independence. I feel like I was nervous, but I did a good job, and I know that. So, yeah.
If our listeners haven't picked up on it yet, Aylee, you came through in the inaugural year of the fellowship program, which was the summer of 2024, came back. So you're the only student in the program this year that came back for a second year as a part of the fellowship program, because you don't graduate until May of 26, right? So you're going into your
Yeah.
last year of school.
Yep.
Speak a little bit about, if you would, you spoke professionally what the difference was from year 1 to year 2 of the program, but how you found the program, and then why you chose to maybe make your way back to the program.
Yeah, so initially, actually, I was just, I was going to job fairs and career fairs, and Trine is really good about giving students a lot of opportunities to connect with businesses and, like, find somewhere to work. But honestly, like, I got maybe a couple, like, some interviews, a couple offers, but nothing was really sticking out to me. And then I saw an email from Missy Lafferty, who is the career coach for the engineering students at Trine. Wonderful lady. She really cares that you get a valuable experience for a job and an internship. And she's always pushing emails out, hey, here's this, and I saw the flyer for this program, and I was like, a camper? Like, we could live in a camper.
Only you, Aylee. Only you.
Has an
Honestly,
appreciation from where it
Loves
started.
Loves it.
Well, I looked at it, and I was like, that is so weird. I love it. Like, I was like, I gotta check this out.
And as a reminder for our listeners, if you didn't listen to the fellowship program, we'll make sure we link that episode that gives more context about in the show notes. But year 1 of the program, we housed all 10 students that were in the fellowship program in RVs at the campground along the river in downtown Wabash. And year 2, we have rented out an old renovated church called the Sanctuary, where everybody's lived under one roof this summer. So Aylee's gotten to experience both.
Lucky Randy.
She's, well, I've heard Aylee discussing with the other interns that are in the program this year how much different it's been compared to last summer. But
Yeah.
sorry, Aylee, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. So I was gonna say, basically, I mean, I was in a little bit of a bind. I was like, man, I really need a job like this summer. And I saw that, and I was like, okay, I gotta check this out. That's super cool. Looked into it, and I was like, free housing, paid internship, it's not too far from home. Yeah, okay. And I applied for it, got an email, the interview. I literally just said this to some of my friends. I was like, I actually had fun in that interview. Like, I had a blast, just like, me and Ron were like talking back and forth about our favorite guitarists. Like, it was so off topic, but we really clicked. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to find that anywhere else. Or if I do, it's not going to be within the next couple of weeks, So I was like, I really hope that they call me back, because that was great. And then I did get the call back, like, really quickly afterwards. So I was like, yes, amazing. Yeah, so that's how I found out, and like my process of applying. What was the other? I don't remember.
No, you're good. So then you shared a little bit about what you did last summer as a part
Yeah.
of the internship, and then what made you decide to come back again
Yeah.
this summer?
So this summer, again, like, I mean, I had other offers, like, and I knew that, hey, maybe I could find somewhere else. But at the same time, I knew that, the housing was going to be different this summer, which was kind of one of my things. I was like, I don't know if I want to live in a camper again, because it was cool. It was cool, but I was like,
Week 1, it was cool.
I
Week 24 felt a little squishy.
I got a little tired of the, like, military showers, like, scrubbing super fast before I run out of hot water.
We all know more now about campers than we did then. Aylee.
Oh, yeah.
We all know
We
more
learned.
now.
Yeah. And I mean, I made good use of that space, and it was
You
really
did.
cool. It was fun. I was camping all summer, and I got to, like, have a job and free housing, and it was good. definitely not the worst living situation I've been in so far. But yeah, I came back because I was talking to Alex a little bit throughout the school year, and I was like, hey, so like what's different this year? Because he said that, you know, you guys are probably going to have different housing. And then he told me about the church, and I was like, wow, that's beautiful. I love it. Amazing. And I really fell in love with Wabash County too, though. Like while I was here for the first year, I was like, this is so enjoyable. It's beautiful. Like the people here are so nice. And I knew that coming back for a second summer would still be beneficial to me professionally too, because of how much Wabash MPI invested in my growth as an employee and in like it professionally and personally. Like Ron and all my coworkers, they mentored me in every aspect pretty much, like trying to help me become a better person, a better engineer, just teaching me about life. You know, it was just a really good experience. So I knew coming back would be a good decision. So that's why I was like, yeah, I'll do it again.
And we're so glad you did.
Yeah, I really am glad I did. Because the other thing, too, is like this summer, I think living under the same roof with everyone, too, gave us the opportunity to really get to know each other on a different level than living in separately, like in campers. And I've made some really, really good friends this summer. So I'm really glad I came back.
Thanks, Aylee.
Mm-hmm.
Randy, how about you? So one thing, again, for our listeners, if they don't know this about the program, it's really flexible as it relates to working with our employers. Some of the applicants that come through the program, like Aylee, learn about it from their college or their university. They come through our common application, and then they're placed with an employer who interviews them, selects them. But also we have some employers that through job fairs or through their own job postings find candidates that way and then reach out to us and say, this is who we want to take our spot in the program. And so, Randy, you're an example of that. Would you mind sharing a little bit about how somebody from Los Angeles, California at Cal State University decides and ends up in Wabash County, Indiana for the summer?
Yeah, sure thing. So, to be quite honest, how I found out about this program was during the semester, I was applying to different internships. And, you know, I was applying to some local ones. To be quite honest, I really wanted to be local.
Sure. It's a far commute.
Definitely.
I mean, it's leaving home for a really long time.
Exactly. But it turns out like all the local internships, like they were looking for other candidates and things like that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to expand my horizon and go out of state and look what other opportunities are out there. So that's when I stumbled upon Rio Alloy, and they had this one opening in Wabash. And I was like, I never heard of Wabash. Let me do a little Google search. And I did a Google search, and it's like, this doesn't look like a bad community. It's, you know, and
Thanks, Google.
Yeah, thanks, Google.
yeah, shout out to Google. But yeah, I applied through their LinkedIn page and, you know, followed all the interview process for Rio Alloy. And during my last interview and like my interview with the HR department, they kind of just told me like, hey, you know what? We do have this program here in Wabash that helps interns, you know, for housing and other stuff. And I was like, and then she gave me all the necessary things to apply for that program. I was like, oh, okay, you know, I'll apply to it. Why not? How can I say no to free housing as a college student?
Yeah.
And yeah, basically the rest is history.
Randy, now, from what Google showed you or what your expectations
That's what I
were
was
about
gonna
Wabash, I'm trying to remember exactly what your expectations were that you shared with me last night, just about when you heard the word rural, what rural meant to you,
Yeah,
I think would be great.
What did it mean? Yeah, before, and then what does it mean to you kind of now?
Yeah, when Randy and I first met on a Zoom call, I think I referred to us as a rural community.
Yeah.
Randy, would you mind sharing what that meant in your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm from Los Angeles, California. Very chaotic, constant traffic. That city never sleeps. But yeah, like when Alex, during that interview, he did tell me that this is a really rural community. I was just thinking, oh boy, there's just gonna be a bunch of shacks, you know. It's gonna be like the Midwest. There's gonna be like the hay bale, you know, rolling around.
Tumbleweeds.
Yeah,
like
the
desolate.
tumbleweeds. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh boy, what did I sign up for?
I hope they have running water.
Yeah, I hope they have like a grocery store. That would be nice. But yeah, like that's what I really thought. But once I came here, completely different story. I wouldn't even, Alex, I don't think it's a rural community. I think it's more of a medium-sized town, in my opinion.
We love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please add that to Google.
Yeah. I will say Google does not do it justice. They need to update some of those pictures, just letting you know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Randy. Randy, on going into that a little deeper, with the perspective that you have from where you're from, what have you appreciated compared to coming from Los Angeles? what are the differences? Obviously, we all know some of the major differences, right? But what are the things you've come to learn about a rural community and appreciate about Wabash County?
Ooh, that's a good question. Something that I really don't have the opportunities to do in Los Angeles just because everything is so congested is like really appreciate nature and just like, for example, we went kayaking. I never went kayaking in my life before. Over there in LA, they are some kayaking places, but you have to pay a premium for that kind of stuff. But here, it's just as long as you have your kayak, you just go, and it's so amazing, Oh, over there in LA, like I said, there's cool hiking trails, there's all this other great stuff. But guess what? It's like an hour and a half away, and it's like a day trip just for you to plan it out and actually go there. Whereas right here, it's right in your backyard. It's like, you know what? You want to get away from people? Yeah, it's just, go 5 miles up this road and start hiking.
The other day I was leaving my office and heading to another appointment, and you were just sitting outside Modoc's, our local coffee house, and you were just sipping on something. I don't assume it was a frappe or I don't know. But it was just neat to see you just casually hanging out on like the sidewalks at one of our like just local coffee shops, and it looked like you were just relaxing, like because it is a different feeling where it is quieter,
right,
slower paced, and you can look anywhere and see green space, and that generally is a more true reflection of what rural can be. Is not completely eradicating, getting rid of all the green space, and you've gotten really comfortable in our community too. That was the other thing I thought was nice is you were by yourself, just hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, like, just for context, I do ride my bike around town all the time.
We know, Randy. We know.
With the helmet.
Safety first.
Safety, top priority, of course.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like, I ride my bike everywhere, and I go there's a really nice trail that goes to La Grove. It's absolutely amazing. I don't know who planned that, but they did a phenomenal job doing it. And I heard that's all going to Huntington in a couple of years.
I think that's the dream, isn't it? Yeah,
boy.
That's the dream, to keep it, keep connecting
Right.
to other communities. Yeah.
I'm going to have to come back to do that bike ride.
Well, you're going to live here forever. Remember, that's our hope.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
We'll see.
crossed. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Randy, for sharing that. And it was your first time kayaking. If you would have watched Randy kayak, you wouldn't have guessed it. You were a pro when you got in the boat. The only thing that may have been the telltale sign that it was Randy's first time kayaking was the shoes. He wore his tennis shoes and in the water, and didn't think twice about it.
Nope,
like he
let's
was
just
going
go.
around in the water, but
Yeah.
expert kayaker.
One of my roommates was trying to convince me to buy Crocs or sandals that day, but I was like, I'm not going to buy it just for a one-time use. Let's just put on these sneakers and call it a day.
And they'll dry.
Yeah,
They'll wash and
exactly.
dry. It's fine.
Randy, you brought up kayaking. Aylee, would you be willing to share, just for the listeners, the housing piece? We've talked about that. The paid internship, we've talked about that. But Randy brought up kayaking. There is a schedule all summer long that we put together. Some events are already going on in the community. Some are specifically for you as fellows in the program. Would you be willing to speak a little bit to some of the activities that we've done over the last couple summers that you've been here, and what your favorite activities may be too?
Yeah, so the kayaking definitely was one of my favorites. I love kayaking personally. It's really fun. It's a good opportunity to just get out and, enjoy nature for a little bit. I mean, we saw a whole bunch of different types of birds. That was cool. It's just really nice. I got some pretty shells, that kind of stuff. But I will say there's stuff like that, and then there's stuff engaging directly with the community, which is really nice, like the First Fridays, making a point to get all the interns out there and just interacting with everybody. The Bluegrass one, which I went to last summer, but I didn't get to go to this summer. That was nice. That was a fun experience. I really enjoyed going on the pontoon boat last summer on the lake. And personally, one of my favorite things was just that the guy driving the boat has the same music taste as me, so I was like vibing the whole time. But aside from that too, it was just really fun to, be out on a lake. I don't get to go on boats a lot, so that was really enjoyable. I'm trying to think what other stuff was, like, honestly, every activity, there was something different.
Do you feel, either of you answer, the hope with that when the program was designed under both Alex and now Connor was to make sure that you felt that you were folded into the community?
Yeah.
Do you think that the programming was diverse enough that gave you different aspects of the community and folded you both in different ways to start making your own connections?
Yeah, I mean, I've met so many different people through the program and just kind of made friends with people. I mean, Even when we were just like walking around, I think it was Rowan, like we were just wandering around, like having the tour, and that little cat was following us around everywhere. I was like so happy. And it's just random stuff like that. Honestly, it just makes me want to keep coming back. Random people I meet, little animals, like anything really. It's just a nice place to be. And I think that you experience that regardless of which activity or event we're doing.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Randy, hello, Randy, wake up.
No,
Turn
I'm
off
good.
your snicker board or whatever it is over there. Pay attention.
I just saw both of you look at me. I was like, oh, it's my turn. Wake up. No, yeah, these activities that you guys put in place, I mean, I feel like definitely I was integrated in the community. It's so funny because, like, it's kind of crazy, like, how much in common you have just with other people. For example, there was this one event that we put out, I think it was like during the Tin Caps game or some other event. I got to talk to people that were in the community, and there was this guy, he does a lot of like off-roading and, you know, things like that. It's like, whoa, I do that all the time too. And then he was like, yeah, you know, I fixed up my car, I did this, I did that. And I was just like listening to him, I was like, damn. You know, I wouldn't think that you would do that kind of stuff out here.
Oh, yeah. Must have been Brad. Was it drag? He goes to the drag strip and takes his car out
Yeah,
there.
it's him.
Yeah. Super into cars, too.
Yeah. But yeah, like just going to those events and just talking with different people and being out of your comfort zone definitely, like, you know, makes it feel not just as any ordinary internship, but something special.
And it's balanced. Correct me if I'm wrong, but not only are you doing the super fun stuff like tin caps and, you know, Lake Day at our senator's house, but you're also having these professional welcome receptions, and I think that it's the mix, right, Alex? That's part of what you're hoping to do, right? Is create experiences.
We're hoping to do.
Yeah.
I just think it's incredibly important. I think you hear from the different members of our community and all of the experiences, for whether it's the employers, whether it's community organizations, but it truly is our entire community, right? And so it's not a me thing, it's not a Connor thing, right? It's and Visit Wabash County and yourself specifically, who's been there from day one of the program,
We believe
continue
in
to pour into it, right?
believe
And
in
so it truly takes our entire community, people that are involved, people that just walk up to you at the YMCA and talk to you, right? I mean, it takes everybody to make the program what it is.
And it sounds like, if I'm hearing you both, you felt that.
Yeah.
You felt welcomed.
Absolutely.
People really wanted to know more beyond just getting you to hopefully accept a position here if offered. It sounds like people just really wanted to know who Randy was and who Aylee really was, and genuine interest.
It wasn't just a job.
Oh.
Yeah.
I will say I had this one experience when I went to LaGrow, and there was this older gentleman that I just sparked up a random conversation, and he was just telling me about his life story. He's like, oh, where are you from? He's like, I'm from Los Angeles, California. He's like, what are you doing here? Yeah, he was like stunned. He was like, you know, it was so funny.
Los Angeles, how many people live in Los Angeles, Randy?
I don't know, I say 4 million across the county.
LaGrow has like 387, I think. Less than 400, in all
That's like
seriousness.
a round number, not 387,000. That's
No.
just
Total.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he was a little surprised.
Yeah.
If you all could just share now, Aylee for the last 2 summers, Randy for this summer, the biggest difference between Wabash County, you've lived with us, right? You've been in the
Right.
community, and where you're from. Just there's a lot of different things, right? Maybe that are, Randy, especially probably from LA to Wabash County. But if you could just sum it up, what is some of the biggest differences between where you're from and Wabash County?
That's a good question. I would say the lifestyle is a little bit different in LA just because, again, LA does not sleep. So, like, I'm just so used to going to 7-Eleven at, like, 2 a.m. and grabbing, like, an energy drink. And it's like, wait, I can't do that here. Everything's closed. I would say that's the only difference. But it's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, you got to prepare in advance. Another difference is something that I didn't think of before, but it's just that back in LA, I'm just so spoiled because everywhere is walkable. It's like I could go from here to there with no problem. Sometimes here in Wabash, like there's not enough sidewalks, but that's not a bad thing. You know, you just got to, you know, watch the road and you'll be fine.
And that's a good point, and that is something our current mayor is looking at addressing, especially within the city, is that connectivity
Right.
piece and identifying those, because you're absolutely correct. There are some city areas that don't have sidewalks, and the mayor's recognized that too, and that's what that trail piece of connectivity is
Right.
a good example of what we could be, but I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say those are some of the key differences. If there's another one in mind, I'll say it right after Aylee, but that's all I got so far.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, what Randy brought up too, because I'm from South Bend, which I don't know the exact population, but I know it's a lot bigger than Wabash. Not quite as huge as Randy's LA and stuff. That's crazy. But South Bend is big, and, you know, a lot of stuff is open really late, and I have had to get used to not being able to just go somewhere at, like, 11 p.m. or, like, midnight, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or, like, super early in the morning. I'm just, like, I'll wake up, and I'm like, I can't go anywhere. It's okay, though. A lot of stuff actually closes pretty early, so I'll be like, oh, man, I kind of want some Modocs, but, you know, they close at, like, 4 p.m. But, you know, that's just a thing with a smaller town because, you know, people got to go home and see their families. And, you know, that totally makes sense to me. But I will say the other big difference, too, is maybe this is just a South Bend thing, but people are not as engaged with their community, I don't think. Maybe, like, between neighborhoods, but I feel like the entire freaking city knows each other. Like,
You mean here?
yes, here, yeah. In
Oh,
South
we
Bend,
do.
yeah. In South Bend, it's crazy because, like, I mean, there's enough people to where, like, you'll see, you know, every time I go to the mall, I see somebody I know, but other than that, really, it's random people every day, and, like, they don't care. They don't care what you're doing. They don't care how you're doing, you know, people. I think if I went up to a random stranger and I was just, like, asking them about stuff, they'd be like, leave me alone. Like, what are you doing? So it is really, really different here because I feel like you can just make friends with anybody here. But I think maybe people in South Bend are just a little meaner. I don't know.
Did you two, by the end of, like, you're nearing the end of your internship, do you feel like people recognize you? You've been at enough things that they're like, you've met so many people, but they treat you like they just know you, like they're, you know, been known you for years?
Yeah, like, like for example, I've been to some of these community events, and there was this one event where I think, what do you call it? Alley Cat does like a weekly bike ride to speakeasies. So I went to one of those events, and then there was a couple people that were also in those community events. It's like, wait, you're that guy from so-and-so where we met, right? I was like, yeah, I remember you. I did not know his name, but, you know.
You both meet so many incredible people, and our goal is that we build that relational toolbox for you. So no matter where your future takes us, you always think fondly of the people that you've built a connection with here and can reach back out. I think that's at our deepest heart connection for both of you and all the interns.
Absolutely.
What about you, Aylee? Same thing? Like, you're out and everyone's like, Aylee!
Yeah. Well, we saw Justin at Wings Etc. last night. Like, I was like, hey!
Yeah.
What are you doing here? For people who don't know, he's the owner of the 950 Speakeasy in LaGros, which is one of my favorite places in Wabash County. So I'm there all the time. And then Bellazo, I'm at Bellazo all the time. Like, I walk in there now, and I'm terrible with names. I don't remember her name, but the owner,
Darcy.
Yeah.
Vale.
Every time she sees me, she's like, hey!
Yeah.
You're back. I'm like, yup.
It feels relational.
It really does. And it's to the point where, like, I went there, I brought my boyfriend there, and then I was like, man, your mom would really love this place. And we bought, like, a Tori Amos patch from Bellazo, and she was like, do you know about Tori Amos? Like, do you know who that is? And we were like, well, I'm getting it for my boyfriend's mom. And then she was like, I have to meet her. Well, the other day I finally brought her there, and they were, like, hitting it off like besties. They graduated the same year of high school even. Like, we were so surprised. But I'm just like, it's to the point now where I'm like, oh my gosh, she would love this other person that I know who's, like, never been here before.
Now you're creating relationships.
Yeah.
You're drawing people back because you have found value here as well.
I want people to experience what I have here for sure. And it's just stuff like that. I mean, and that was after me and my boyfriend, like, had our booth for the first time at the Wabash Farmers Market. So we were at the Farmers Market.
I was a customer.
Yeah, he did.
I did not know you opened a booth there, Aylee. That's
was
great.
Our first time this past weekend, and it was really funny because we saw Biz there. Biz and her husband, is it?
Brad?
Yeah.
Yep.
They came up and talked for a while and got something from us, and then Alex showed up, and he was like, what are you doing here? And he got something from us. Yeah, and it was really, really fun just, like, interacting with people in the community and getting to talk about stuff that we're passionate about in our, like, little business that we opened together and, you know, interacting in the community in that way, because that's something I haven't done yet with Wabash County. So
As an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I keep going on little side quests around the community at this point. I'm like, what can I do here?
What can I do here? That's our hope.
Just to add on what Aylee said and how special Wabash is, like, over there and back in LA, I just feel like everyone's in their little bubble, and coming here is just so completely different. Like, I can go to Kroger, spark up a random conversation with a stranger, and just like act like, you know, we were best friends since like college. And that's really special to me. And that's something that's super unique to Wabash, in my opinion. Just the community and the people. Just amazing.
Going
for
back
that.
to your hometowns or to your college campuses here in a few weeks in both of your cases, what's one thing, if you were talking to a classmate or you were talking to a family member, what's one thing that you would tell them about your experience here with the program and the community?
Ooh, I'll let Aylee go first. I have to think on this one.
I would say that it was worth the risk of going somewhere I've never been before. Like initially when I first came here, it was worth just stepping out of my comfort zone for sure. And that was kind of a lesson I learned too, that like, you know, that was my first time ever being by myself completely away from people that I knew. I didn't even have a car last summer. I was just like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm just in it now. And I think it was one of the best decisions that I could have made for myself, because I feel like I grew up a little bit and like learned how to take care of myself and, you know, function and like make connections with people without anyone else as a buffer, which isn't something I had done before. And I think everybody kind of needs to do something like that in their life. So I think that's probably what I would tell them.
As far as me goes, I think I have a similar experience too, just because, again, I did come to Los Angeles. I did not know this town. I didn't even
You
know
were looking for tumbleweeds.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even know it existed on the map, to be quite honest. And I even talked to my parents about this internship and this program, and my mom was like super skeptical. She was like, I don't know, Randy, you know, too good to be true. You know, there's no such thing as free food. You know, they're going to steal your kidney or something. You know, something bad's going to happen, you know. And my mom, I think the first week when I got to Wabash, she's like, you better call me every day for that week, okay? Otherwise, I'm calling the cops. But then after that, I just, you know, my main takeaway is like this place is just amazing, and I'm definitely going to promote this program for any future interns in my college. I mean, it's something that they should experience as well. You know.
What are your calls with your mom like now at the end of the summer compared to what they were at the beginning?
Oh, boy.
Does she have a little more trust that we're not taking your kidney?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. That's good.
Thank goodness.
But yeah, my call is like, oh my goodness, I'm pretty sure the community back where I'm at is much worse in like, you know, crime rate compared to over here. I tell my mom, it's like, Mom, I feel safer over here than I do over there. You shouldn't be worrying about me.
I'm worried about you, Mom. I'm worried about your kidneys.
But yeah.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh.
Maybe more on just a insider baseball personal level. What's your favorite memories, Aylee, from the last 2 summers that you've been here? Randy, from this summer, what's your favorite memory over the last 12 weeks?
Oof, that's a good one. My favorite memory, to be quite honest, it's not any of the events. I mean, the events were really fun, but literally every night we would just play board games. Not every night, but like we would be like, all right, let's grab a team. Let's play Uno. Let's, you know, play Connect Four or
It's
something
like once
like
a week. At least.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just having those memories, like, you know, I don't think I'll be able to experience them in the future, but I'm just so happy that I had the opportunity to do it this summer.
That was definitely the most special to me too, was like it's like a little family in the sanctuary. It's like really different from what I've experienced, because like I live in dorms at school, but it's really not like that, you know what I mean? But everyone moved in and was just ready to make friends with everybody and like get to know each other, and there's plenty of shenanigans. Like I wasn't even participating, but when people were playing sardines, like
Just for the listener, this is a
Yeah.
group of what would be 20 to 26, 25-year-olds
Yeah.
playing sardines in
Yeah.
the sanctuary where they're living. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sitting on the couch sewing a birthday gift for my boyfriend, and people are running around behind me, in front of me, like Scooby-Doo, like, like back and forth. And I'm just seeing this, and like I see where people are hiding occasionally. Like Jonah hid somewhere right in front of me, and I had to just sit there like, I don't know what's going on, like when everyone, you know, was running around by me, and it was just so funny. Just stuff like that. We did Heads Up yesterday, which is another type of board game, or it's like on a phone. It's weird, but it was
It's
just
like charades, isn't it? Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. And it's just stuff like that. I think that was the most special, and like getting to engage with the other interns. You know, I'm really gonna miss them. Like when I move out and when everybody moves out, it's gonna be sad. We're already like kind of mourning like some of the people that have moved out, like Camila and Jonah's moving out today, and it's just, and Maggie and Marilyn, really sad, but it's a good memory for sure, just to like live in there with everybody. Even like, well, occasionally like we cooked dinner and would just sit at the table and like eat all our dinners together. That was really fun.
The one thing you have in common with all of them, right? You met each other in Wabash County, so
True.
if you want to bring it back.
And it's super weird too, because Sydney, like, she went to school in South Bend. She went to St. Mary's, and like one of my best friends goes to St. Mary's. So like, there's like these weird little connections between us that like we wouldn't have expected, but just out of nowhere, like me and Sydney happen to know some of the same people, which was like so crazy.
Well, I've been waiting all episode, and maybe our listeners have been too. If they know what the purpose of why we started the fellowship program and what the overall goal is, the $1 million question. Would you, or are you, is there a chance of moving back to Wabash County when you graduate from college, or to come back as an intern again, or anything like that?
I think so. It's difficult because I don't know what the future holds for me exactly. Like, I'm going into my senior year. There's a lot to still be determined about my future, especially this year. Like, this is a really big decision-making time for me. So I'm kind of trying to figure out where I'm going to go, but Wabash County definitely will be on my mind. Like I want to come back, and I will be back, at least visiting. I mean, I got to come refill my perfume at JoJo's, like
Whatever
Priorities,
it takes.
the important
Yeah,
things.
whatever it takes.
But aside from that too, like I like it here, and I would be happy to live here. Maybe even if it's not directly after I graduate, but at some point I come back to, be in Indiana and see my family and, settle down somewhere. This would be definitely one of my top choices.
Thank you for that.
I agree as well. If I was offered the opportunity, I would definitely move here. My family, they might be a little bit hesitant, my parents especially, coming over here. But I feel like once they see the picture and they're going to sit right at home the first couple of weeks, I already know it.
Well, tell Mom we won't take her kidneys either.
I'll let her know this is a kidney taking
Safe.
free.
Yeah, it's safe here. Kidneys are safe
county.
here. Yeah, it's
And
safe
don't
here.
look at the pictures on Google. They're outdated, according to
outdated.
Randy. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, even if Real Alloy, my employer doesn't offer me a position, if I get another position, I think I would gladly take it for sure.
That's huge. You have no idea how much that honors not only us who pour into this program and the community stakeholders, but that speaks volumes about this community as a whole and the county as a whole. And so that doesn't fall on deaf ears for us. That really truly means a lot to Alex and I and the rest of this county. Your kindness means a lot. We'll hold that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you both sharing that. And to Christine's point, when we started the program, obviously that's the overall goal, right? Is that we can provide this, or work with our employers to provide a not stuffing envelope in a corner experience, right? And that's number one, first and foremost. But then as a community, right, we step up and roll out the red carpet, create this comprehensive experience that you look at Wabash County in a different light, right? And yes, that's the goal, is that you all move here and work here someday, right? But ultimately, if this program is what it takes to shift your mindset about what a rural community may or may not be like, right? Shift a mindset for you and your future and your career and where you'd look to settle, the type of company you'd look for. If we can accomplish those things and create better professionals out in the workforce, better young leaders, whether it's hopefully in Wabash County, right, or elsewhere, that's what is really exciting about this program. And it addresses larger issues, right, that we face not only in the state of Indiana, but the rural communities across the country. And so hopefully you think a little bit differently maybe about a rural community and all that it has to offer, the quality of life, the people that you may meet. If we've shifted that perception, ultimately that's a win for us.
And you both poured into, as much as this community poured into both of you, you both chose to harness opportunities within the internship program outside of the easy wins. Paid our free housing and really nice housing, a paid internship, and a lot of your meals were comped because we were taking you somewhere, right, and feeding you too, and then giving you the leftovers. But you both had to make a choice as well, and you had to choose how much you took advantage of those pieces to deepen your Rolodex of contacts, right? So your relationships, your professional toolbox got bigger because you also poured into it. So thank you both for that as well.
Yeah, as somebody who got to participate in this program, like for the second year in a row, I mean, you guys are like really thanking us a whole bunch, but I want to say like it is what it is because of you guys and like other members of the community pouring into it so much. You know, like I'm grateful to have gotten to come here and, you know, change my perception of what a small town in the Midwest is, because like I'm from South Bend, so I feel like my impression initially, like my expectations were like totally different from what it actually is. And I see a lot of beauty in it that I didn't initially like think was there. And it's because of all the work that you guys have done. So definitely big thank you.
You all the work that goes into each year, right? Planning and getting ready and all of working out all the big and small details. The second that we get to meet you guys when you show up here for 2 years in a row now makes it worth it and reminds our community leaders, definitely me,
And
I
me.
can speak for, it's just worth it, right? Every dollar that we work to pull together, that our communities work to pull together, every minute of time makes it worth it. And really, you two are perfect examples. I know I was joking at the beginning about you two being guests and speaking over our heads with the engineering lingo.
Not joking,
But-
that's facts.
But you two are perfect examples of just generally what rural communities look for in residents, right? Whether it's retaining young people in our community or it's attracting new ones, we look for people that are risk takers, are willing to think outside the box. And you two in this program is taking people that have never been here before, in most cases, have no idea where it is, what it's like, that would be willing to spend 12 weeks of their summer in a place they've never been before. You all possess those characteristics that our community and other communities like us look for in future residents, right? You're what will make our communities a better place, and volunteering with different organizations, giving back to the causes that are close to home to you, and ultimately raising kids maybe someday in our community makes our communities a better place.
Well said.
Parting words, closing things, just about the fellowship program, about your other fellows, anything else you want to share that we haven't hit?
No, not really. I just think, again, like Aylee said, you guys did an amazing job with this program, and I really hope you continue to keep this momentum going.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the next batch of interns that you guys get, I hope their experience is better, or if not the same as mine that I've had.
Thank you both again for taking the time. I know you're in your final days here and you're packing up and you're closing up your internship, and so we just appreciate you taking the time to sit with us and are so excited for you and whatever's next, and hope that, again, like you both shared, maybe that's our community. This podcast is made possible by the generous support of the Gilman Investment Fund, the Sandra Kunkel Trust, Mark and Amy Ford, Paperworks Industries, the City of Wabash, the Community Foundation of Wabash County, and Visit Wabash County. And the fellowship program, just again, is so thankful for our communities, the private sector, employers, all of the community support organizations, and all of the residents that welcome you all into their homes, into their businesses, and just into our everyday lives in this community. It's truly what makes it possible every year. So we're really excited for the future and what it can hold, but that's only possible because of generous support, yet again, of Wabash County stepping up.
Absolutely.